Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Jefferson Highway Show. This historic highway was formed in 1915 by the Jefferson Highway Association. It runs from Winnipeg, Canada, all the way to New Orleans, Louisiana. Let's go! Welcome, everyone. So excited. Every fourth Thursday, we have the Jefferson Highway podcast with the Jefferson Highway Association. Nancy and I of Big Blend Magazine's Big Blend Radio. 2025 is a big year for us. It's 28 years of publishing Big Blend magazines in this country. Nancy started the publishing world for us in South Africa years before that, and we reached back home in this country and started up again. It's in our veins and our blood. And anyway, we got started, and that was pre-Google, back in print days. And now we travel the country full time. So 28 years of publishing. This year, 2025, I know this is airing in December, but we're almost in 2025, is 18 years of podcasting. Our good friend Arlene Gould, who's the former executive director of Natchitoches Tourism Bureau in Natchitoches, Louisiana, the oldest settlement in Louisiana, she said, well, girls, you really need to get on board with the Jefferson Highway. And we're like, ooh, it's a highway. She goes, it's a historic highway. This is one of the oldest highways that we have in the country, and it's the only international highway. It goes from Winnipeg, Canada, down to New Orleans. And so we did. Then first thing we did, we had a conversation with Roger Bell, who is the president. And next thing you know, we started a podcast every fourth Thursday. Next thing you know, we're now going to start doing a Jefferson Highway Travel Guide. You can go to jeffersonhighwaytravelguide.com to connect with me on this. That's what we're going to talk about today is the history of this iconic highway, what it means for tourism, the local economies, and how we can get this information out to everyone so they can follow, have epic road trips, learn about history, eat some good ice cream or beignets or a meat pie in Natchitoches. Just an amazing thing. So I want to give a shout out to Arlene, who is retired, but I know we're going to get her out on the highway, right, Roger? Welcome back. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. Yes, I'm sure Arlene still reaches out to us, and I know she's still very much involved in an interest in the highway. So it's kind of like you said, once you get the Jefferson Highway bug, it's hard to get rid of it. So it's exciting to see, and we're very excited about this project. I mean, the one of the things that I get as president quite often from people that are discovering the route from all over is, where can I find a guide? Where can I look at a really good map or what there is to see on the highway day by day? And as we got more and more into this, we knew that was something we had to do. So working with Lisa and Nancy here at Big Blend, we have a great opportunity now to create a very unique guide, which will be kept up to date, which is always hard to do with guides. That will be really the thing we will push everybody to anybody that's interested in traveling the route or even has an interest in it at all, to really look at the route, see what there is. And it's a great partnership that we are working on here with Big Blend.
Thank you, Roger. Nancy and I are both excited. Nancy wants to live on the highway. She wants to live in the Winnebago going up and down. But I'm just not driving that Winnebago. But this is going to be a digital publication that's going to come out seasonally and will be debuted at the conference this year, 2025, which will be in Oklahoma, which has the first chapter of the Jefferson Highway Association. So what I think Nancy and I are very thrilled about and feel honored is to pick up the reins from back in 1915 and how this, route was established and who created the idea and how this newsletter and the publications that came off of this. The a route like this, and we saw this with the convoy, the military convoy that recently, the Military Vehicle Preservation Association did a 1 month convoy for the entire month of October 2024. They drove the entire highway from, Minnesota, except for Winnipeg, because, we got international stuff going, but they drove all the way down to New Orleans area. And what we saw from this was the entire route, the historic highway, the communities actually getting together, getting on board with the signage program that the association has. Even Reba McEntire did a video call out and, did things. She was a Atoka, Kansas, everybody. Is it Atoka? Did I get it right? I've got to get it right.
Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yes, she's from that
Oklahoma. I said
area.
Kansas. Oopsie. See, this is why we
Actually,
got to
for
live
some
on the.
spring towns where she's from, but that's really near to Atoka.
Okay, that's it. Yeah, so she did something, but these communities got together, the signage, there's new murals. So this becomes this highway like Route 66, but actually this highway is older than Route 66, which is about to have its centennial year. Um, and you look at, there's a Lincoln Highway, both of these iconic highways, including Nancy's favorite trail, the Pony Express Trail, the El Camino Real de los Tejas National Historic Trail. There's many, many trails. In fact, this will be one whole article once about the crossroads of the Jefferson Highway cross through this. And so I want to touch on this because this comes from a magazine person, and this is our heritage, our backbone as a family. Even, when I look at our ancestry, Roger, we have typesetters, we have newspaper people, musicians, lawyers, which is good because we read the fine print as journalists too. And so it's exciting to us to kind of follow in those footsteps of being the modern age with a digital publication, a website with maps. You're going to have interactive maps that you can actually utilize to travel. Like if you want to just do a big foodie experience on the highway, we got you. That kind of thing is going to happen. You want a graveyard experience on the highway? You got that.
We got you.
If you want to do the main actual, these crown cities that were like the key places, we've got you. You're going to actually be able to follow a super cool map through the magazine, or I should say the guide, as well as the websites, so that you can actually do this and plan around it. And if you want to go off the highway to other places, it's going to be part of that. But can you tell us a little bit about the legacy of who started this? And it is cool to be a publishing company, just being part of it too. Really is special.
Yeah, the idea sprang from Edwin Meredith of Meredith Publishing. He was a gentleman in the Des Moines, Iowa area, and he basically created a big company for himself in the teens of 1910s. Even before that, with the first magazine was Successful Farming. It really was a huge national hit, but he branched off into other things, including what we would now know as Better Homes and Garden Magazine. The company, was bought out a few years ago, but it was a big legacy company in Des Moines, and you can go today to Des Moines and go right by where his offices were, which was actually the first headquarters for the Jefferson Highway in the
Wow.
same building in Des Moines. But his legacy, his idea was to create a north-south link across the country. There was some other highways that were starting to get gone. This is really on the time that cars were starting to become not just for the wealthy or elite in America. They were starting to become more affordable, and it's an amazing time to think about. But people were starting to, what did they do? They get out and drive, and what they found is roads conditions were horrible. We complain about our roads. I know we do that in our hometown here in Oklahoma about the road conditions, but we have nothing to complain about compared to what this was. These roads were not made for cars, so they had no signage, nothing. So the idea was to create a route across the country that people could travel. And Winnipeg, especially at that time, was considered to be a really coming place, almost like a Chicago, and it was a big thing. And of course, New Orleans was what it was. So the route all across the country that was made, and it took some time to plan the routes. A lot of the routes were picked by what the best roads were or where they had support. We talked. You mentioned the community. That's hugely important on the highway. The communities that got behind the effort and recruited it and became members of the association. They were, put in best, places along the route originally, and so it was a competition as such. But the route has is very historical, but since it's been formed, it's still there, and time goes on. So we have things that are specific to the early days of the route that what our 1910, 1920s visitors would have seen the same thing.
Mm.
For example, in Minnesota to see where the Mississippi River trickles in and starts to things like the Minnehaha Falls in Minnesota and just things like that. People would have seen that in the early days of travel. But there are other things now that maybe have evolved over time, museums or art
Oh, yeah.
galleries or whatever it is that evolves. So
Festivals. Yeah.
yes, it is a historical journey, but it is full of Americana and full of things that have evolved over the last 100 years or more.
Mm.
And that's what we want to show on these routes that people are saying, hey, where do I go on the route? What can I see? What there is, the tons of
Where can
events
I
that are out
camp?
there, and where do I camp? Where do I stay? What historic lodging is there? What iconic restaurants are there? These are the things that we can, this guide is the goal, and it's going to evolve when Nancy and Lisa get this out. It doesn't mean it's going to be the same. It's going to evolve and change, and
Hmm.
will be updated, and they can let you know about this. But it's important for us to kick this off, and we need everyone listening on this podcast that's involved in a community on the Jefferson Highway or even off the highway a little bit to get involved with this here. And this is a great opportunity and a great moment in time for our evolving as a historic byway across America.
This is a corridor and it's a tourism corridor. So we're really looking for, the highlights, the information. This is when Nancy and I signed up to do this, we said, oh, if you're in, you're in. I don't know how many years we've been doing the podcast, Roger. Is it 2, 3, 4? I don't know. But we have been on the highway a few times, quite a few times. We drive on it in different places all the time as we travel the country full time because that's what we do. Nancy and I travel full time on the road. One of our, things that we do is called the Love Your Parks tour. We document parks, public lands, and their communities. So this is right up our alley to do. This is a corridor, and it's important to know what is the original route itself. But then also, hey, I can detour an hour and go to like maybe the Bob Dylan Museum in Oklahoma, right? You can, when you are, that's this corridor where if you're a CVB, a museum, an art gallery, a theater, please reach out to us. A shop, a restaurant, lodgings, reach out to us, please. We're trying to get everybody on board together. And this is going to be something that we don't stop doing because it is such a massive project. I mean, we first said, okay, we're going to do an annual guide, and we're already knowing it's not going to be annual. This is going to be seasonal. There's no
It's
way
too
it can be
much.
annual. It's too much. Nancy did all this research and she's basically got a book together, and it's like,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
well, here's 1,000 pages on Jefferson Highway. It's not going to happen like that. So what we do want to do is get everyone to number one in the first issue for people to know the communities that they can go to and what makes them stand out. What makes your community a destination? And remember, really small towns are destinations. Maybe you have like an amazing ice cream shop. Some towns don't even have the hotels, but you're going to have a park in your backyard, and then someone's going to go in your downtown and go shopping after they go to the park. Maybe you have a museum, the historic courthouses. I mean, I'm ready to do a map just on historic courthouses across this country. I mean, the courthouses. What is with that, man, Roger? The courthouses on the Jefferson Highway.
Well, that's
I mean,
how our country was formed in the law,
yeah,
in the courts.
it's amazing. The
It
stories
was, I
just from
mean, they
that.
put so much pride in these early courthouses, these
Mm,
communities. It was a sense of pride to have beautiful courthouses, and somehow we've lost that. We still have a lot of American courthouses, but when one gets built, it looks, it doesn't architecturally look anything like compared to what we
hmm
see these beautiful courthouses. But you're right, and I think that's the part is that this is a heart of Americana, and these communities were so proud of them, and a lot of them have restored them very greatly. Spent a lot of money in restoring them, and we it's just another one of those things to see on the route that is just some of people you don't even think about it, and all of a sudden you drive by one of these courthouses and you go, "Wow, what
Yeah,
did it take to build that?"
yeah, the opportunity to show your kids real history is there.
mm,
I mean, they're the historic characters, anywhere from Bonnie and Clyde all the way back to Jesse James. You know,
hmm
the
Mhm.
Oh
more
yeah, the
I
outlaws.
research the early going ons in history, the more
Mhm.
fascinating it gets.
Oh, the
And
scandals. You had
oh, big time.
moonshiners. You had all kind. I mean, the scandal that went down on the Jefferson Highway. Oh man, that's a whole issue right there. I mean, there's so much fascinating stuff. And then the food. Did you know sliced bread came off of the Jefferson Highway? There's a bakery in Missouri that was the first to make sliced bread in this country. How about that? Off of the
Well, I think
Jefferson
a lot
Highway.
of the coast get a lot. I mean, the coast get a lot of the notoriety to be something, New England or whatever, that part of it. And obviously, there's tons of history and things to see in those areas in California or whatever. But this thing right down the center of the country is unique,
It's
and
the heartland of America.
it's a heartland, and the cultural trip along the route from the northern Minnesota to Winnipeg to all the way down to New Orleans. I mean, almost every day you can kind of sense the culture change slowly evolving as you go down the route,
Mm,
and you can see it in accents. You can see it in the people, and there's so much
Hmm.
diversity on the route. That's what I think makes this really unique. Yes, there are some diversity of that in things like Route 66 or other highways, obviously, but this one is more unique, I think, than any one of the other historic highways. And that's what we can showcase, I think, in this guide very well is that diversity and that cultural experience for a traveler.
Well, it's
exactly.
got everything in it.
Yep.
It's got criminals, it's got good people, it does. It's got great outlaws.
Oh, but
Every
and heroes,
town
so
has
many
a
heroes.
story. I found that every town has a story. I tell people
Well,
that
Yep.
when I go and talk. I mean, you think, well, there's nothing to do here. We didn't really have much history. You're wrong because you haven't
No.
researched it. Because
oh,
I have
and the
not found a
music.
town on the highway yet that didn't have something interesting in it. I mean,
Listen,
I have
music.
stuff.
We could have one issue just on music because you've got everyone from Reba McEntire
Yeah.
to Carrie Underwood in your backyard. You got Muskogee. You've got so much going. I've got New Orleans, Dr.
Well, I
John,
mean, here in
right?
my
The
hometown of
Music
Muskogee,
Man.
we just put up a really unique statue right within 50 yards of the Jefferson Highway or less of to Merle Haggard, who
Oh,
sang "Okie
cool.
from Muskogee." I
Oh,
mean,
oh, we,
it is you can go out there.
That's
It's
awesome.
lit up 24 hours a day, and you can sit there and see the old courthouse where Okie Muskogee was
I
done,
think
and
Merle
sit
Haggard
there
liked
with
to
him.
be lit up 24 hours a day. I'm
And
just
so,
saying.
anyway, it's
That's,
just one of those
yeah,
things that my point is that things are evolving, things are changing. That wasn't there uh, this time last year, but it is now.
yeah.
But
That's
it does
why,
it honors the past. And it
yeah.
was
Exactly.
originally a cattle drive route.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts at the very beginning of our cowboy history
Mm-hmm.
and how this country was formed. So it's really, the deeper I get into it, I have a hard time stopping.
No,
Oh, and the Native American history. Are you kidding me on that, man?
Oh, wow.
The
Yeah.
the indigenous people, if you look, trace the route, and the indigenous
Oh,
people's history is so deep and so rich and something to be honored and understood. And the museums and the parks that interpret that history is incredible. The
hmm
African American history, you're thinking about people like George Carver, Washington, there's just, I mean, we could go on for days and days and hours and hours. That's why we're going to have to do this guide. So you have this, and it's just going to be evolving and growing. The first one coming out in time for the Jefferson Highway Conference in McAlester, Oklahoma, which is in June 2025. So everyone go to jeffersonhighway.org to keep up with that and sign up for, become a member, sign up for their Facebook group, which is really active and fascinating because people post things, as they're on the route. Hey, I'm in Denton. I'm in this place, hey, let me show you the town, and festivals and all of this good stuff that happens. It's always going to grow, but we want first for you to understand where it is and the towns. And we're going to be, collecting all these feature stories like the graveyards and ice cream. I see an ice cream, map happening.
well, we need
You know,
people's help. I mean, you're going to need people's help, and you're going to need our support at the Jefferson Highway Association. And I think that's a key element is how is it best to do this going forward for us to do this? And I think the key thing is reach out to us.
yeah, please do.
Reach out to us,
Jefferson,
and
yeah.
if you have a question on something to me regarding on the Jefferson Highway, reach out to me at info@jeffersonhighway.org, and we'll get right back to you. But this is a very important project for us, and it's exciting times to see this. And it is going to bring these communities together.
Mhm.
This is the key thing: is people, each one of these communities. We don't want to have big voids on the route. That's my point.
Mm-mm.
We need every state. And if you don't know the states, just go through them real quickly. Manitoba, basically into Minnesota through Minneapolis, and then down to Mason City, Iowa, and then to the heart of Iowa, Des Moines, and then going into Kansas City, and then the split in the two routes, and where you have a eastern Kansas route and a western Missouri route, and then they come together pretty much in Joplin, Missouri, and then go on through Oklahoma, eastern Oklahoma, and then into north eastern Texas, and then in Louisiana, right through the heart of Louisiana, all the way to New Orleans. And if you're anywhere along this route, we need to hear from you, and
Mm-hmm.
it's important that we'll make the effort to get involved in this.
Yeah, we want information. We also, of course, marketing support of that. And the reality is, this is going to be unified. You can promote your events, you can promote your hotels, you can promote, this is a very big way for us to connect with the travelers. And this is what the travelers want. As travelers, I want you to know we got you. We're working on this so you can have the best
hmm
experience. And when I look at, I know that definitely, the immediate thing is people in the region, in the neighboring states are traveling the highway, right? In Canada, in America. However, I know our European visitors, our international travelers from around the world really are into Americana and will do this and travel this, just like Route 66. The beauty of this being in the digital era is that it can go global. We don't have to wait for print, and we don't have to charge everybody, thousands and thousands of dollars for print. And so, anyone around the world can access the website. Everyone, it's jeffersonhighwaytravelguide.com. Right now, it's just like, hello, we're here, we're doing this. But this is going to be the main site that we use to put the maps, to put directories, to put everything on there, the magazines as, the guides as they, you can tell we're a magazine background, the guides as we publish them digitally, sign up, for newsletters so you can get each guide as it comes out. Well, of course, it'll go through on the social media too with the Jefferson Highway Association, but our travelers from around the world will be able to access this, and the information on the website too is all translatable. We have Google Translate. No, it's not perfect, but it's darn close. So we have this ability to communicate this way.
I think that's a really good point too. Is we've had contact recently from several internationals that are interested in the Jefferson Highway. Some of them may be former Route 66 travelers or what. That said that this is really interesting to me. I want to do it. There are others that have looked at the highway and have said, we need, where is the guide, Roger? I think one of the things that I think is good is we'd love to hear from you too. We'd love to hear what would make the trip, what are things in the guide that would be helpful to you, and I think it's good to hear some of that feedback, and we might be missing something there that is very important. So
that would help because I'm making outline after outline after outline, and it gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah, that's what we realized.
What do you want to see? Obviously, there's going to have to be decisions made and all this, but it helps us to know what the travelers want to see in a guide.
And, well, I know wildlife is one, botanical gardens, picnic spots, waterfalls. It just goes on and on and on. And almost everything I think of, I look and go, somewhere on the highway, it's there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can tell you, we were going to talk about 25 things to do on the Jefferson Highway in 2025, and there's no way we can limit ourselves to that. So that's the problem with this highway is there's so much to do. And that's not a problem. It's a good thing. It's a good problem.
It's a good thing.
So that's why, we looked at this going, we're going to do this once a year. No way. You're going to do it. You're all in, and this is going to be an evolving story forever. And it's just so exciting. It's exciting these last couple years to see, like a chapter being formed, the signage program working, the convoy, the events happening, just to see people come on and go, hey, let's do another mural that also represents the Jefferson Highway. There's so much public art on the highway. It's amazing.
Sculpture after sculpture.
So a lot murals. Of the things we're going to work on are maps, interactive maps for people. So, maps per city, maps per town, maps per state, along the road. And, just for people, there's so many museums. There's so many roadside attractions. Can we talk about,
well, there's some fun stuff.
Paul Bunyan's and, things like that. We've got to do all those roadside attractions, like at the Highway Cafe, not far from Roger. And they have a Jefferson Highway burger. So, people coming together, and some places that are even opening up to being like a visitor center, right? Roger, that's something else that's happening is chapters
and those are evolving. I mean, we've named a few visitor centers, and we'll be naming a few more next year. And these are things that we are seeing, and these work hand in hand. I mean, our visitors have a guide now, and then they have friendly people in these communities that they can stop by and get information right in their fingertips there too. So it's really the things that we are evolving, and it's exciting to see this. And but I think the important thing is we need to hear from people. Here we are at the end of the year, our final broadcast of 24. We need to start hearing from these communities as soon as possible. So
yeah, please do. Please
it's not going to happen unless it's going to make us better. The more we hear from you. So if you're in Louisiana or Minnesota or Manitoba or anywhere on the route, and you want to be involved in this process or want to give us information, we can. We want to hear from you now.
If you have a hotel on that highway and people are looking to stay when they drive the highway, Well, you better be in the guide. I'm just saying, if you're a destination, a shop, a town, a city, a CVB, a visitor bureau, DMO, whatever, anything like that, an attraction, a museum, a gallery, a theater, a shop. And I do want to tell people on the advertising side of this, so many of the communities on this highway are small agricultural communities. And Nancy and I, our whole business since day one, even in South Africa, has been geared to tourism market. Absolutely. And everything we do, we're Big Blend because we cover a little bit of everything. As you can tell, even just that's why the Jefferson Highway's up our alley too, has a little bit of everything, right?
Yep.
We have a lot of interests: history, nature, food, gardening, all of that, right? The arts. We really, really care about the small business. We care about that. We're talking about a highway that is through the heartland of America, which is part of the backbone of America. And so are small businesses. So our rates, everything, it's going to be a little bit different than what you normally see with fancy, glossy guides. These are going to be nice guides that we put out, professionally produced. You can see our Big Blend magazines, they're professionally produced with maps, with websites, all of that good stuff. Podcasts. I know our podcast is going to have to increase to have more of you all on there. So we're excited about that too. I wouldn't be surprised if we were going to be doing 2 podcasts or 3 podcasts a month on the Jefferson Highway. That's great. But we're going to keep our costs down as much as we possibly can. The digital world does cost things, but it doesn't cost like you do when you print. And so those savings are going to be fantastic for those small businesses in small towns. I promise it will be 100% affordable to you. Members of the Jefferson Highway Association will also receive a discount when you join up with this guide. There's going to be opportunities to just be listed and linked in a directory on the website. So your website's there. It's like, hey, I'm in Kansas. I have a restaurant. I don't have a big budget. Trust me, you'll be able to have one page and a listing on the website and be listed in that guide, and it will be in your price range. I promise you, it is going to be affordable for all because, again, small business is the backbone of this country at the end of the day. And so is the heartland of America that produces food for people, right? So this is important. So I'm not trying to do a big sales pitch, but I'm saying it. I'm just telling you.
Well, and the guide is fully supported as the official route guide of the Jefferson Highway Association as per the board of directors of our association. So we're going to be behind it. We're going to support it. If we see something that we need to address or change, we're going to be part of that. And Nancy and Lisa want us to be. So this is important.
It's a partnership.
A partnership.
It is. And that's what it is. I think, again, looking at the convoy that happened this year, everyone working together to make it work. And I mean, what they did, the association themselves with the vehicles, having to take these historic vehicles on roads and make sure they can go over this bridge because this vehicle's heavier than the bridge, things like that. And then have, these events in the communities and, everyone started to work together. And that is exactly what this is about. The guide is a great, great tool for travelers. The website is a fantastic travel tool for travelers, but it's also a way for communities to come together and learn about each other. It's not just about one town. This is about a whole route of towns. It is a whole tourism corridor where everyone should be promoting each other. Oh, you enjoyed the pumpkin pie in my town? Hey, you go 2 towns over, you're going to get a cherry pie you wouldn't believe. So that's how we can work together in this to make this an epic corridor of experiences for all ages and all, interests, right? Because there's people interested in mining. Well, hell, don't you have that really big thing coming, Roger? What's going on at the mining museum? They've got that really big mining apparatus coming, right? Or is it there already? that big, big, big thing. You know what I'm talking about at the Miners Hall. So, things like that. There's giants all on the highway. So we can connect communities by these kinds of things, right?
Yeah, I think that's coming in 2025, and it's again, that's where the Jefferson Highway, even after 100 years, is still evolving. There's still new things that are popping up along the highway, uh, and it's that are of interest. And even this mining deal is one of the most historic mining pieces in the country, and but it hasn't been on display anywhere until now, and it's going to be a huge thing to see in Franklin, Kansas, at the Miners Hall Museum, which are one of our visitor centers. So
talk about women's history there too. That's also tied in. All right. But that's another rabbit hole. We'll go down next year, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the Big Blend Radio Jefferson Highway Association podcast every month. Every fourth Thursday we're here. More will be added as we progress in the year. So please go to jeffersonhighwaytravelguide.com. Right now it's just an introduction. My email address is there, lisa@bigblendmagazines with an S.com. You can connect with me there, call, text, everything is there, and it's in the show notes as well, so you can connect directly there. I also have the jeffersonhighway.org website linked in the episode notes, so you can connect with them. I encourage you again to go to the Jefferson Highway Facebook page, follow that, but also be part of the discussion group, because man, I love that group, and it's dangerous, man. That's a whole rabbit hole of stuff you go down. Like, you want to spend all day
there's so much fun stuff. There's so many weird stories.
I know. It's amazing. So we will be back in the new year in January with more news on this. But again, please reach out to us. You have, questions for Roger, for us. We're working together, and you want to see specific things like Roger said, please let us all know so we can get it in there. And don't forget, the conference is happening in McAlester, Oklahoma in June 2025. And we're going to talk about the guide there. It will be out. And also go to the conference. The conference is all part of the highway and everyone coming together. Again, one of those important things to create this magic corridor of tourism, which boosts the economy. And that's part of it. I mean, when Mr. Meredith looked at this and, hey, we need to do this highway, it was to help the economy of these smaller communities. And that's what we're doing now. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Roger, and Happy New Year to you and your family.
Yeah.
Happy New Year, and look forward to visiting with you again very soon. And again, we want to hear from you now, and look forward to it.
Thanks, Roger. Thank you all. Happy New Year to everyone. See you on the highway. Thank you for joining us here on the Big Blend Radio Jefferson Highway Show. The show airs every fourth Thursday, and we encourage you to go to jeffersonhighway.org to learn more about the Jefferson Highway Association or even become a member. You can also dig into the history of the highway and share travel notes with friends at the Jefferson Highway Association Facebook group. Follow our shows at bigblendradio.com. Happy travels!